A wonderful good evening and welcome to Facts and Folklore. My name is Cynthia Johnson and I will be hosting tonight's discussion about the future of management. Recently, 35 of the country's leading management scholars and practitioners addressed the pressing question about what sorts of changes will be needed in management practices and principles to build companies that are truly fit for the future. Tonight, I would like to discuss with two experts in the field of organizational behavior. Welcome Elisa Smith, professor at the MIT Sloan School of Management.
Hello, thank you for having me.
And welcome Alexander Meyer, strategy consultant at McKinsey & Company.
An honor to be here, Cynthia.
Let's get started. A much discussed topic in organizations is hierarchy. According to the expert group, we need to eliminate the pathologies of formal hierarchy in order to make management more relevant to a volatile world. Elisa, what do you think about it?
Hierarchical organizational structures are outdated. They encourage neither innovation nor employee engagement. Therefore, we see that hierarchies continuously disappear in forward-thinking companies. Our research on millennials has shown that their different work expectations drive the need to eliminate hierarchies.
But if hierarchies, which have existed since the beginning of mankind, are really obsolete, why do these structures always seem to emerge? I see hierarchy as a fundamental structural principle of all organizational systems, including biological, technical, and social systems. As a consultant, I constantly have to deal with complexity, and I think that without hierarchy, organizations could not even reach such advanced levels of complexity. Also, hierarchy delivers practical and psychological value because it fulfills our deep-seated needs for order and security. Don't you agree?
I do agree with you, Alex. However, due to those hierarchies, many, if not most individuals will prefer to be at the top in order to receive higher financial rewards. The resulting increased competition negatively affects the organizational climate and fosters inequality and domination.
To conclude, hierarchy will always be a feature of human organization, but we might need a more dynamic concept where power flows to those who are adding value and away from those who aren't. Next, we will discuss fear and trust. Employees are withholding valuable information, but how can they be encouraged to share this?
Good question. Organizational adaptability, innovation, and employee engagement can only thrive in high-trust, low-fear culture. In such an environment, information is widely shared and contentious opinions are freely expressed.
I totally agree with you, Elisa, but the question is how? During my time at McKinsey, I've discovered that our clients use a variety of tools to get people to speak up, like climate surveys and old staff feedback, thereby focusing on improving communication up and down the hierarchy. This seems to be the straightforward approach.
Well, yes and no. It is more about subtle factors than simple organizational policy, which can have an influence on information sharing and trust building. It doesn't take a tyrannical boss to inspire fear within an organization. Once people become afraid to speak their minds, they keep justifying their silence and pointing towards the prevailing company culture, stating that you don't disagree with your boss. And here we get to the root of the problem. Leadership behaviors can have significant influences on employee perceptions. My favorite examples are ambient stimuli. A simple posture of power or the look of a well-furnished office or a manager can have intimidating effects on an employee which highlights his or her inferiority.
Further, employees need to be ensured that their opinions matter and that management will act upon their ideas to avoid the so-called futility factor. Managers must work hard to create a more vocal culture and make feedback a more regular casual exchange, actively reaching out to employees and advocating their ideas, while being transparent about progresses and results. This helps to establish trust.
And not to forget, self-empower cues because people care about their social and material well-being too much to routinely speak truth to power.
So concluding, you are both saying that despite their best intentions to facilitate knowledge sharing, managers usually fall short for two key reasons: a fear of consequences and a sense of futility of their employees. Two further challenges for the future of management are to embed the ideas of community and citizenship in management systems and to reinvent strategy making as an emergent process. In particular, strategy should no longer be exclusively made by top managers in an ivory tower. Instead, they need to provide the conditions in which strategies can evolve. Alex, you as an expert on strategy, what do you think about this?
I'm happy that this challenge entered the agenda for management innovation, because the change in how strategies are developed will be very beneficial for a lot of companies. After many of my projects, the C-level merely communicates the final strategy to the employees, which often leads to low commitment and an incomplete understanding of the developed strategy. A largely underused approach to increase commitment is bottom-up strategizing, where employees participate in order to base strategies on a shared understanding.
I agree with you, Alex. This approach basically turns strategy making into a process of organizational sense making and includes participants from inside and outside the organization to create strategic issues. In that way, the strategy is not a top-down instruction and instead reflects a collaborative effort and incorporates the viewpoints of various stakeholders.
If strategy making becomes a collaborative effort, can we send our managers home then?
No, Cynthia. But of course, their role definitely changes. Managing bottom-up strategizing means that managers become sense givers who influence and guide the process of sense making. They really need to engage in the process, because the mere provision of an opportunity for sense making does not guarantee the emergence of a strategic issue.
Exactly. That's why my colleague Deborah Ancona proposes sense-making as a critical managerial skill and predictor of leadership effectiveness. In sum, we need to get away from looking for one best strategy and be more open to the biological principles of variety, selection, and retention.
Let's continue with gender diversity. Many organizations have policies in place that are intended to promote this issue, but they still do not truly exploit diversity. That's why the 35 experts identified the need to create a management system that values diversity, disagreement, and divergence.
In this context, the term glass ceiling has described subtle but very real barriers that women face as they try to climb the organizational hierarchy. However, if they break through the glass ceiling, they face another barrier, the glass cliff, which describes the fact that women are often appointed to positions which have a higher risk of failure. Multiple reasons for this. Firstly, female leaders can be seen as a signal of change since they are simply not men. Secondly, gender stereotypes such as think manager, think male, think crisis, think female. Lastly, sexism and in-group favoritism is another valid explanation where men will protect fellow in-group members.
Gender diversity has become a topic that companies take seriously and are therefore actively hiring more women to leadership positions. As can be seen in the United States, women held 51.5% of management, professional and related positions and 20% of board seats of the Fortune 500. Instead of making gender diversity a numbers game, men and women need to have access to positions with equal success chances. If not, women's careers can be seriously hampered. The general impression of female leaders is damaged and even bigger barriers are created.
Thanks to both of you for this interesting input you have brought to the table. This concludes our first episode on the future of management. Next week, we will continue with 4 more management challenges with our guests Will Foppen, Honorary Professor in Strategic Leadership at Maastricht University, and Richard Lange, Vice President Product Management at DHL. Good night, everyone.